If this had happened to almost any other team, I would have said, you know what? It was a blowout. No need to disrespect them further. We still have to play them tomorrow, and baseball is a cruel mistress, etc., etc. But it happened to Boston, so instead I'm all like... Okay, all right. Jays win. Finals 28-5 in the most hilarious game I might have ever seen in my entire life. Oh, that was great. Oh, my sides. Oh my God, what a game. And seriously, I'm so sick of Boston sports. They get to win all the time. All their teams and all their sports are so great. They're just dripping in championships. Oh, I'm so mad at them. I hate them so much. So the fact that this happened to Boston, in Boston, there's a song in my heart and all is well with the world. This is fantastic. Okay, so in this absolutely laughable baseball game, there's way too many things to talk about to go into all of it. If you have a chance to watch some of the highlights of this game, absolutely do. This is chicken soup for the soul right here. You gotta get into it. It's fantastic. Special shout out to Raimel Tapia, who turned a routine pop fly to center field into one of the greatest baseball highlights we're gonna see all year. Jarren Duran, enjoy your trip back to AAA, buddy. Yeah, you don't get to play like that and be in the major leagues. If Alex Cora doesn't send your ass back down to the minors after this, that is an indictment of him. You have already shown what you're made of here, man, and it ain't impressive. Actual legitimate shout out to Lourdes Gurriel Jr., 6 hits. I watched both games where a Blue Jay got 6 hit in the game. Frankie Baseball, Frankie Catalanato with a 6-hit game in 2004. I was at that game. And then this one, where I obviously wasn't at the game because I'm not in Boston, but I was able to watch Lourdes Gurriel with 6 hits, multiple RBIs, an absolutely clinical performance from him. He is red hot. Tabby said something on the broadcast that I couldn't believe, and I guess it must be true because these guys would know better than I do, but like on June 1st, Lourdes is up there batting .240, and that sounds about right because, you know, he didn't have a very strong first half at all, first couple months anyway, and like, it was still better. I remember making a point on a video that it was still better than what he had done in the first 2 months in 2021, so it's to the good, question mark, but still hitting .240, and now he's up here, and I think he said it's like 317 or something crazy. Hey, getting 6 hits in a night will do wonders for your batting average for sure, so legit shout out to Lourdes Gurriel. He is piping hot right now. Also, shout out to Danny Jansen with 2 massive clubbed home runs in the way that only Danny Jansen can do it. Drove in 6 runs, which is a career high, scored 4 runs himself, which is a career high. He was batting 9th, y'all. When your 9th batter hits 2 home runs, drives in 6 runs, and is just an unstoppable force offensively, you're going to have a good night. So, again, there's just way too many things to talk about here. I think every Blue Jay had at least 1 hit. I think almost everyone had 2 hits. Everyone scored a run. I think almost everyone drove in a run. It was a complete tour de force, given a lot of help by some incredibly terrible Boston defense. I don't know what the hell these guys were doing or what they were doing last night, but they should really reconsider some of their processes here because these guys were not ready to play. The number of plays not made is staggering, and the Blue Jays made them pay for every single one of them, which is glorious, but it is kind of nice to feel that even if the Red Sox had played crisp defensive baseball, the Jays still would have won 11-5. But because they played so poorly, the Blue Jays got to set some records. So let's talk about those. First, on the positive side, the Blue Jays scored the most runs they've ever scored in franchise history, and like by a bit, 28 runs. I think it was 24 was the high before, so yeah, that's fun. Again, doing it at Boston, mwah. Also, it stands to reason that it was the most hits they've ever had in a ball game. So yeah, a complete offensive whitewashing here. I just injected to my veins. I might just rewatch the game after I'm done with this. This was a lot of fun. On the opposite side, the Boston Red Sox, a team that has been around for pretty much the entire history of baseball. This is the most runs they have ever given up. in a Major League Baseball game. 28, beating out, I think it was 27 before, and now it's 28. Anytime you get a chance to set a record against a team that's been around since like before the Titanic, yeah, that feels good. That's a nice day. That's a good time. Kevin Gausman was on the mound for the Blue Jays tonight, and honestly, this was not vintage Kevin Gausman, and it absolutely did not have to be. If you're going to pick a time to kind of throw in a mediocre effort, Kevin, boy, you picked the right time today, man. It wasn't like he was bad. He was just kind of laboring out there. He wasn't as crisp, especially with his off-speed command. His whole thing, like Jose Barrios actually, they're very similar in this regard, is the whole thing is that their off-speed stuff that ends up in the dirt has to look like a strike long enough to get hitters to commit and then fall off the table. Wasn't really doing that this time. It was too obvious that it was going to fall off the table. Guys weren't really biting unless they were like a dead rookie or were Jarren Duran, who was just awful all night. Oh, man. So he kind of labored to get through 5 innings to get the win, so good for him, and he was owed a couple. I think this takes him back to a 500 pitching record. Again, I don't think pitching record matters one whit, but some people do. Read the fact that I guess he probably wouldn't have gone to the All-Star game because he was coming off an injury and wanted to rest and all that. But the fact that he wasn't named an All-Star is ridiculous. Like, he's like in the top 5 for the AL Cy Young, right? Between him and Manoah are both up there, and like you can't. I challenge you to name 5 guys who deserve the Cy Young more than Kevin Gausman does. I don't think you can. So the fact that he wasn't named an all-star, I think, has a little bit to do with pitching wins and losses, which is silly, but this is the world we live in. I mean, again, he probably wouldn't have gone. He was resting his injured ankle, but still, it's about principle. It's not really about principle. I don't really know what point I'm trying to make here. Anyway, he's good, but he didn't have to be good today, which is to the good, because he wasn't especially good today. But it was good enough, and that's all we've ever needed. It's all we've ever wanted from you, Kevin, is good enough, and thanks for that. But speaking of Kevin Gausman, he was ranked 50th in the league in amount of runs given in support to him. 50th in the league. That means there are 49 guys who receive more run support than Kevin Gausman does, which equates to his terrible win-loss record. After tonight, it is 6th. That means he has now received the 6th most run support after this one ridiculous game where he got double digits run support out of literally nowhere. Basically like a deadbeat dad showing up at Christmas morning with an armful of presents trying to buy his way out of your future therapy sessions. Wow, that got dark in a hurry. You okay, Dave? Anyway, the Jays offense is the deadbeat dad, and you know what, let's just move on. The Boston Red Sox, who again were only 2 games behind the Blue Jays coming into this one, had a run differential of plus 18 coming into play today. It's now minus 5. And that's great. And this was a really fun game, and I love these kinds of games. I love them when they're against the Red Sox. I love them especially when they're in Fenway, but I'm reminded last year, a little bit earlier on in the year last year, so I think kind of in late June, there was a game very much like this where the Blue Jays absolutely blew out the Red Sox in Fenway. It was glorious. It was a lot of fun, and then lost the series because they didn't score any more runs for the rest of the series. They just absolutely they used all their offense and got super drunk and then were hung over for the next couple games or whatever the problem was. I don't know what it was, but they went from being a 17-run-a-game juggernaut to scoring 2 and then 1 and losing both those games. And it's kind of like, yeah, you could have used some of those later on, fellas. I hope you saved them. So this time around, I hope they save some of those runs because they're going to need to win this series, right? I mean, if they blow out the Red Sox and embarrass them and knock them around in this game, but you lose the series, hard to feel good about that, right? Now, on the upside, it is Alek Manoah going tomorrow, and he typically does get run support because I guess the Jays love hitting behind him, and it's not like the Red Sox are running out Cy Young candidates out there. Nathan Eovaldi, who is the Red Sox starter for tonight, is easily their best arm remaining. They're having massive injury troubles, and it got worse when Chris Sale broke his pinky just before the All-Star break. He might be done for the year. Guy's made of glass. It's really sad. But they don't really have too much else going on either. And then for some reason, Alex Cora decided to use like actual relievers in this game. Like, sure, they use some lesser lights as well, but like Jake Diekman and Sawamura, those guys are actual relievers that they use in like high leverage situations. And I know they saved like the Garrett Whitlocks of the world, but like, geez. So I'm saying it still lines up for the Blue Jays to possibly win other games in this series beyond just this one. But I am reminded of this series that happened when this happened last year, where they blew out the Red Sox in the first game and then lost the next 2. I am a little apprehensive about that going forward. But I'm trying not to think about that because tonight is tonight, and tonight was glorious. Yes, indeed. Tonight is not a night for worrying about the future. Tonight is a night for glorifying Danny Dongs. God, I love Danny Dongs. Anytime we get a Danny Dong, my heart is all aflutter for the rest of the night. So I'm going to enjoy watching some more Danny Dong replays probably for the next couple hours. That's it for me. Thank you very much for watching this video. Thank you very much for watching this channel. I hope you enjoyed that game as much as I did. If you're a Blue Jays fan, it would have been hard not to. I will see you tomorrow afternoon. Alek Manoah going up against Cutter somebody. I don't know. He didn't seem like a real person. Anyway, Red Sox lesser light starter. I'm hoping for the best. Now that I've said that out loud, I've probably cursed the Blue Jays. No, you know what? Danny Dongs. Danny Dongs. Danny Dongs. See you tomorrow.